and we are doing PowerPoint, making it move, custom animation. As I mentioned, my name is Jan Romano, and you can chat with any question in the chat. All right, what are we going to be doing today? We're going to be making your presentations move, and you can see that there's a clock that's moving, and there's a question mark that's moving, and then the word move moved around the screen. So there are different types of pictures that you can add to your PowerPoint presentation. There are still pictures, and they're animated pictures. And we can add text, we can add shapes, smart art, groups, charts. So there's all kinds of objects, we call them, in PowerPoint that we can add to our presentations, and animation is going to make them more visually interesting. So that's our goal. Now, before we talk and do and demonstrate, let's see why we should use animation. Because some of you might be saying, oh, I've been in a presentation before as an audience member, and there was too much animation. Yes, that can be done, and that can give somebody a headache and distract the audience. And then others can say, oh, I've been an audience member, and all they did was read the screen, and it was very boring. So we're trying to make our presentations more visually interesting, as well as entertaining to our customers, our clients, our coworkers, our employees, whoever we're presenting our presentation to. And it definitely depends on the topic as well. So some topics are pretty dry and they need a little bit of animation, and some topics are much more let's say, creative or more for marketing, and those can be a little bit more animated. So again, you know your topics. I'm going to try to show you everything, so that way that you can make a decision on what to use for the topics that you're going to give your presentations about. So first of all, animation has the ability to make complex information easy. You see, when you animate, especially text like I just did, whoever is watching this presentation watches the text move in and focuses on that text. So animation can make complex information easy, because you're going to animate each particular piece of information slowly or whenever you want, so that you can make a bigger impact on your audience with that data. So it helps build your information in small steps. It also helps the audience, as I mentioned, grasp the information at the right stages. You see, if you give everybody all the information on a slide at once, we all read at different levels, and we're all reading it at different times, and the person who's presenting may be talking about the first, let's say, bullet in this case, and the audience has already read through this maybe 3 or 4 times. You're trying to make an impact. You're trying to help the audience understand information in small steps, make it easy for them, but at the right time that they need to understand that information. It also gives an opportunity to ask questions at each stage. If you use the animation the way that I'm going to show you, I think it's best to use animation for a purpose, not just to possibly entertain. It helps the audience focus on the message, so that when, for example, each bullet right now is sliding in from the left, that's custom animation. And I am helping you focus on what I'm trying to teach you at this point. And then it makes your message, hopefully, memorable. So pictures, like these apples, they get smaller and larger. So does a concept get smaller and larger when you are using custom animation. You're helping people understand easy steps to a final end. And that hopefully makes your message memorable. And then also, it helps control the pace of the delivery. So it slows me down sometimes, which is good. I tend to talk fast. So custom animation will help me talk about a particular topic as much as I need to, and then go on to the next piece of information. So why should you use animation? Take a look once again before we move on. It really is a helpful tool to help give out information in steps, the right stages, for people to be able to ask questions at the right time, and for the audience to focus and to also help you as the presenter. Now, I want to give you some caution, a warning about putting in custom animation into a slideshow. Animation that you've added into the slideshow, you have to make sure that you know where you put it. You want to practice your presentation and prepare thoroughly. I've watched some workshop instructors, even myself. I've watched other webinars and trainings all throughout, the internet. And what I find is when someone is giving a presentation, then all of a sudden they forgot that there was some custom animation. They're like, oh, I forgot that was going to pop up. And it surprises them. Well, remember, your animation sequence is not a surprise to you. It's a surprise to the audience. So be prepared. Always practice your presentation with your custom animation so that you know what is going to pop up next. So I suggest that you never use animation just to entertain, but again, it really depends on the topic. You know that. But have a reason for using the animation. Because when you're displaying a picture, do you want someone to be able to look at it, digest it, I call it, look at it, understand it, and then have it go away? Well, I might use fade in. You'll see, I'll practice this and show it to you. But that's a valid reason for using animation, so the audience will gently look at a picture and be able to recognize it or remember it. You also want to make your animations as we call them mild and fast. Well, again, it really depends on the topic. It depends on the object that you're animating. But sometimes when animation takes a long time to show up, to appear, your audience gets a little restless, gets a little bored. And one thing that I find, it's good advice, look at the last bullet. Always wait for the animation to finish before you start to talk. And that's something that I'm still trying to get myself to do, because I want to talk so much that sometimes I talk over the animation. And the audience is looking at the animation, looking at the object, and maybe not hearing me. So always try to finish the animation before you start to talk. Consistency is a really good thing. Think of that word throughout any PowerPoint presentation. So if you've been in any presentations with me before, or any trainings with me on PowerPoint before, consistency is a big word. So every slide that you see today is going to have the Mass Hire logo at the bottom left. It's going to have the green bar across the top because those are our colors. Consistency helps an audience to relate to each slide, as well as when you have consistent types of animation, there are no surprises, there's no interruptions or things that are going to distract an audience. So think of animation in a consistent way, and think of colors, and think of all kinds of things that you're going to be putting on your PowerPoint presentation, but think consistency within those. So we're going to get to how to add animation to any object right now. And do you know what an object is in PowerPoint? An object is text, word art, pictures, videos, sound, anything. Anything that you put on a PowerPoint slide is considered an object, and anything can be animated. Now, I want you to notice this slide. I have a lot of information on this slide, don't I? I didn't animate any of it, did I? So as I'm talking, you're reading it, aren't you? And you might have already read it once or twice already, because you can read much faster than I can type or speak. So if I'm typing something or if I'm speaking something, you're already reading it a couple of times. So animation, like I said, will help control how the audience gets the information in small pieces and helps them to digest it and understand it. Now, I put all of this information on this slide so that you can get it after. Remember, I'm going to do a transfer of this file to you, but you'll be able to get all the directions. But I want you to notice it says what to do first. Start in normal view and bring up the animation pane. Okay, so how do I do that? Well, take a look. I'm going to go to another PowerPoint presentation. I want you to notice I'm going to go to slide sorter for a moment. And I'm going to show you that I have so far 5 slides. And I have some custom animation. I think I might be deleting some of it as we go, and I have some timings. But remember, I break down PowerPoint into several types of trainings. One of them is transitions. The other one is custom animation, or adding in, jazzing up your slideshow. So I have several PowerPoint sessions. Check the YouTube channel. I have them all typically on there so that you can see how to do some of the things that you may be interested in. But today we're going to focus on custom animation. So I have these slides, and I want to give a slideshow, and I want to wow the audience, right? Okay. So I start in what? Normal view. So down the bottom, there are buttons: normal, slideshow, reading view, normal, slide sorter, reading view, and slideshow. So these are the buttons down here that I like to use. And now I'm in normal view, and it says to bring up the custom animation pane. So notice I'm going to go to the animations tab on the top of my ribbon, and it's called the animation pane, which is right here in the advanced animation group. And when I click on it, it's going to show me if I have any animation. And I have the title animated. And if I bring my mouse over here, I wanted to show you some animation before we even start. And then I'll show you how to add the animation, of course, and change the animation. And there's so much to learn. So give me time to show you methodically how to do this. But first, I wanted to show you that if I bring my mouse to this right here, it is we'll call this a peach color. And you're going to see if a white box pops up, and it'll say zoom, which is an entrance animation, and it's going to animate after previous, which you're going to understand in a moment, means that I don't have to click the mouse. And it's going to animate always when I run the slideshow. So watch when I run the slideshow. This title is going to animate. Now, I'm going to go just for a moment to transitions and just shut a few things off because I want to make sure, sorry about that, I want to make sure that nothing else is distracting you. So let me put none and no timings and apply it to all. Okay, so let me run this slideshow again. So do you see? Oh, sorry about that. Hold on one second. Well, let me slow. There we go. So did you see Mass Higher Metro North Career Center came popping up? It is animated as how? A zoom. It's an entrance effect, so the text will enter into the slide, and it's after previous, and there's no previous animation. So when the slide comes up on the screen, it'll animate. So let me do it again. I'll run the slideshow. You can see that that text animates. It just gives a little bit of integrity to the text. And so that's what custom animation could look like. Now, if you wanted it to be much more dynamic, then you could add a different type of animation. But that's what animation is. And look over in the animation pane. It'll look similar to this. And notice there's a green star. And you did. Some of you said you didn't see the animation. Okay, I'm going to run it again. Don't blink though, because blinking will definitely. It's so quick, you might miss it if you blink. I always say that to people. Don't blink. So let me run the slideshow again, so that everybody can see this. Watch when I run the slideshow. Watch the text: Mass Higher Metro North Career Center. See how it zoomed in? I hope you got to see it this time because it's important for you to understand what custom animation is. Now I could slow it down, I could speed it up, and we're going to talk about all these things. But I want you to understand that this is an animation that I put on this text. Now, how did I do that? Well, to show you, I'm going to come over to the animation pane. I'm going to click this down arrow, and I am going to remove. Here we go. You can use your delete key on your keyboard, or you can click the down arrow and choose remove. And some of you are saying that you still don't see it. I don't know what the issue is. If you can make your screen larger, maybe that will help. But keep on watching. I'm sure you'll be able to see the animation soon. So again, how many objects do I have on this slide? 1, 2, 3, just in this green area that I'm going to talk about. So 1, 2, 3. So I can animate these 3 objects separately, or I could select them using my shift key, and I could animate them all the same way. Okay? So now there's no animation, and I'm going to show you how to add animation. So let's jump back to the other PowerPoint presentation and look at these instructions. So what we did first is we went to the Animations tab, and we turned on the animation pane. Now what do? Notice there are 4 steps. We are going to click on the Add Animation button. We're going to choose an animation. We're going to choose an effect that goes along with that animation. And then we're going to decide how to start that animation. So you are very, very in tune right now with how to add any animation if you follow these 3 steps. And then notice step number 4, run the slideshow to see the animation. So always remember, you've got these 3 steps to do each time you create and add animation to an object. Okay? So are you going to remember these steps? We're going to be able to click on the Add Animation button from the ribbon. I'll show you where that is. We're going to be able to click on the Animation Effective choice. I'll show you where that is, and there are some choices I want to talk about. We're going to click on the Effect Options button, and notice number 2, it says If Usable. We'll talk about that. We'll choose an option applicable to the animation chosen. So let's say, for example, I choose Fly. Well, what direction do I want it to fly in from? The left, the right, the top, the bottom. That's what number 2 means. Then, step number 3, we're going to learn how to start the animation. Do we want it to start when we click and only when we click? Or do we want it to start automatically and let PowerPoint run the animation for us? And there are different reasons for choosing either one. And to really see the animation well, I'll show you that we can run the slideshow, and there are some other ways that we can see the animation. So I want you to remember these 4 steps, because you're going to be seeing me do them many, many times while I'm teaching you how to do custom animation. Now, there's a couple little things that I want to make sure that you understand. Then I'm going to go demonstrate, okay? So now that you've seen the steps, I want you to understand what you're looking at here. Entrance, emphasis, exit, and motion path. I want you to remember those words. Entrance, emphasis, exit, and motion path. These are the 4 types, categories of animations. So an entrance effect, we call them, so an effect is an animation, means how do you want the object to appear when it comes into the slide? So it's going to come into the slide. Emphasis. What do you want the object to do once it's on the slide? How do you want the object to leave the slide? Is an exit effect. And motion path is have an object move around the screen. Maybe you want it to do a loop-de-loop, or you want it to move around the screen, the object. I will say that the two that are very common are the entrance and the emphasis effects. And what's the most common is the entrance effect. So when we go to add an animation, look at the how-to, just like you saw in the previous slide. We're going to add an animation. Whatever that animation is, that's either going to be an entrance, an emphasis, an exit, or a motion path animation. So let's go, just learning this information here, as well as these steps here. Let's go and now do some custom animation using this presentation here. Notice what I did is I already went to view and my animations and view the animation pane. It's over here on the right and it's empty. It means that there's no animation. I deleted the animation that was here. Remember, I counted 1, 2, 3 objects. We're just working in the green because there are a couple of objects down here. So there's really 5 objects on this screen that I could animate. What order do I want to animate them in? Meaning, what do I want to animate first? What do I want the audience to see first, second, and third if I want to animate all the objects? If I want them all to show up at the same time, I can do that as well. So I want to tell you, it's very hard to teach custom animation. You know why? Because you have probably many questions and you want to see it right away. And I want to teach it in a methodical way so that you're understanding each little piece of it. So bear with me, you'll get it all by the end of this training. I'm going to click on the text, and just for your benefit, I'm going to highlight it. So that way you can see I am going to be animating this text here. Where do I go? I go to the Animations tab. I find this button called Add Animation. Now here are some shortcuts here, but I'm going to ignore those. I'm going to go to this button called Add Animation. When I click on it, do you see the word entrance, emphasis, motion path, exit? We just talked about those, didn't we? Those are the different kinds of animations. And let me explain to you. You see these in the green with the green star? These are some of the entrance effects. These are the ones that are most commonly used. These are some in the yellow stars, some of the emphasis effects that are used commonly. These are some of the exit effects that are commonly used, and these are the motion paths. Notice down here there's more entrance, more emphasis, more exit, more motion paths. So you can choose from these nice and easily, but if you wanted to see more, you would come down to more. Now, remember, what is entrance for? Entrance means, how do you want the object to enter into the slide during the slideshow? So I want you to look at them, and when you're new to this, you don't really know what zoom or swivel or bounce means. You can probably get a general idea by the word, but sometimes you need to see them. So I am going to choose, I think I'll choose swivel first. You see what the text is doing? That's a swivel. Can I make it swivel more? Yes. Can I make it swivel faster? Yes, but not right now. I want to show you some of the basics of what we're talking about first. Is swivel my favorite? No, but at times it makes sense to have something swivel and at times it doesn't. So it depends on your choice for your whatever object it is. So I decided to choose swivel. What if I didn't like it? What if I don't like the swivel? I can always hit undo, or I can go to this right-hand side, this animation pane, and I can find my, oh, I've lost my mouse. Hold on a second. There we go. I am just going to bounce back, and my mouse will come back. There we go. So I can come over here and click on this and delete it with my delete key, or click the down arrow and choose remove. I'm going to use delete, and it's gone. So if I choose an animation that I don't like, I can either hit undo or delete it from the animation pane. The animation pane is going to show me the animation that I'm adding to each object. So I'm going to highlight again, Mass Higher Metro North Career Center. Add animation is the button. I'll look at my entrance effects again because I like those. And I think I'll choose, let's say, split. Did you see how it split? It's quick, isn't it? Now, let's talk about what we do next. Step number 2 says go to the Effect Options button if it's usable. When I choose Split, this button, Effect Options, is usable. So I'm going to click on it. Why? Because Effect Options is going to help me decide, in this case, should I split horizontally in, horizontally out, vertically in, vertically out. So what I do is I click and I watch my text and I see what I like. And I've decided to choose, remember we chose split as the animation, and now I'm choosing vertical out. I just like that look. That was step number 1 and step number 2. What's step number 3? Step number 3 is coming up here. We're still in the Animations tab, going to where it says Start. Now, start means how do you want this animation to start when you are running the slideshow? Do you want the default, which is on click, which means when I run the slideshow, I click the mouse and then it will animate. That is the default. Watch my screen. I'm going to run the slideshow. Notice my Mass Higher Metro North Career Center information's not there. What is it waiting for me to do? It's waiting for me to click the left mouse button. And now Mass Higher Metro North Career Center did a split out. Okay? That's what it did. And it waited for me to be ready to click the mouse, and then it animated. All right, I'm going to hit escape and go back to normal view. What are the other choices instead of clicking the mouse? Because what if I'm not in the room? What if I'm running the slideshow and I would like the slideshow to automatically run? That's called transitions. That's called the slideshow. I did a custom slideshow training a couple of weeks ago. So hopefully you took that. If not, you can check out YouTube. But what if I'm not there and I want this to animate without me having to click the mouse? Or what if I am standing up there and I just wanted to show up Mass Higher Metro North Career Center without me having to click the mouse? Well, what are the choices? I click this down arrow, and the choices are with previous animation, it means, or after previous animation. And when you are animating the first object on a slide, think of it as, do I want this text to animate with the slide popping up or after the slide pops up? So it really means with any previous animation or after any previous animation. So if you choose after previous, think of that as almost automatic, okay? So think of that as automatic. What do you think so far? Watch when I run the slideshow, don't blink. It is going to animate right away without me clicking the mouse, right when the slide pops up. So here I go. I'm clicking on slideshow. Did you see Mass Higher Metro North Career Center? Split. It's fast, isn't it? Can I slow it down? The answer is yes. But right now, I've added in some animation. So now, these 4 steps I just did. I clicked on the Add Animation button. I chose, remember, split. That's the animation effect of choice. I clicked on Effect Options button. It was usable. And I chose the horizontal split, split out. Then I went to Start. And at first I left it on mouse click and showed you And then I changed it to after previous, which is basically run this automatically without me having to click the mouse. And how did I see it work? I ran the slideshow. Those are the steps you need to remember every time you animate an object. So there are some things I still haven't told you, but let's try it again. Let's click on this picture right here. And let me animate this picture, right? So the steps are, oh, and I've lost, sorry, I'm going to have to keep jumping back and forth to get my mouse. Here we go. Add animation. I think this time I'll choose a fade. See fade? Fade is very subtle. Then I go to effect options and it's dimmed. It's not available. It's not usable. Some animations are not usable. They don't have any other effects that are usable to that particular animation. So fade doesn't have any effects. Then I come up here and I decide, do I want to click the mouse to have this fade in? Or I click the down arrow after the previous animation. So after Mass Higher Metro North Career Center will animate, I want this picture to animate as well. So now if you look at the animation pane with me, we have an entrance effect for split, and we have an entrance effect for fade. And don't worry what these titles are yet. We haven't got there yet. We're going to talk about those for sure. But let's just talk about the dynamics of this. Watch when I run the slideshow. Mass Higher Metro North Career Center animated, and then the picture animated. Let me hit escape and show you again. Watch the screen. Mass Higher Metro North Career Center animated, then the animation happened. And I'm just going to run it one more time so that I can see that you're seeing it good. I see a little screen of what you see, so I saw that it did animate. So I'm hoping that you're seeing it as well. So what do you think? How do you think that feels so far? How many animations did we do? We did 2. What did we animate? We animated this text and we animated this picture. Now, let's take a look at how I know what I animated and how do I know what I animated or what did I choose when I animated. So everyone, I want you to notice when I click on, let me highlight Mass Higher Metro North Career Center. Do you notice this little, you could call it orange, you could call it peach color, salmon color, but see this little peach color box and it says 0. You see it? Then if you look over the animation pane, the color matches this first green star, which says Title 1. Well, PowerPoint tries to look at your object and tries to give it a name. It doesn't always do a great job. So I never worry about the name, for example, Title 1, that PowerPoint is given. What I do is I look at this little peach color here, matches this peach color here. That means Mass Higher Metro North Career Center's animation is this first green star. And a green star, remember, means an entrance effect. So when I point to this peach color line, it says split. It's an entrance effect after previous, meaning it's going to run automatically after any previous animation. Now, I'm going to take my mouse and click on the picture. Look at my animation pane and look at this little peach color 0 here. I'll talk about what the 0 means in a moment, but I want you to notice this peach color matches this peach color. So this object has been animated once because there's only one line colored peach over here. And what did PowerPoint call this picture? Picture 11. There are not 11 pictures. So why did it say picture 11? I honestly don't know. And I can't figure out rhyme or reason why PowerPoint calls some of these objects what it does. So I ignore it. I'm not worried about what PowerPoint calls it. What I'm worried about is it animated? Yes, it is. And how is it animated? I bring my mouse over to this peach color, and after previous entrance fade. What does that mean? Well, I always read from the bottom. Fade is the animation we chose. It's an entrance effect, so the object's not going to be there until it's turned to animate, and then it'll enter in as a fade, and after previous means it's going to animate automatically. What do you think about this so far? Is this making sense? I hope so. Little by little, we're going to learn and make sure that you understand animation, and then we're going to learn how to change it, slow it down, speed it up. So I'm kind of going a little slow, but hopefully you're going to be getting it as we go. So how much animation is on slide 1? 2. 2 animations are on slide 1. What is animated? Mass Hire, Metro North Career Center is animated, and the picture is animated. Why do you see 2 zeros here? 0 means after previous. 0 means that when the slideshow is run, the animation will start automatically without you clicking the mouse. Watch for a moment. You see this picture right here has a 0 here, right? I've set it as after previous. Watch when I click the down arrow and choose on click instead. Notice it turns to a 1, meaning right away I can see a 0 means Mass Hire Metro North Career Center is going to animate without me having to click. But this picture has a 1 beside it, and if I look up here, yep, it says on click. So when I run the slideshow, how is that picture, or when will that picture be animated? Only when I do what? Click the mouse. And so sometimes I want to stand up there and make a really good point and click the mouse and have some text or a picture show up right when I'm making that point. And sometimes I'll change this right up here, click on the picture, and change it to after previous. And let's say this is at a party, a wedding, a ceremony, or a best employee event. And so when I'm running the slideshow, I want everything to run without me having to click the mouse. So 0 means no one has to click the mouse. All right, let's go to slide 2. I have one object here and one object here. Now, do you see a 1 and a 2 beside these? Because it means if I click the mouse once, look up here, on click. When I run the slideshow, the first click that I do will bring up this text. How? Let's look over here. I have created an entrance effect in Grow and Turn. Then if I click the mouse a second time, look, it's on click. How? I bring my mouse here, and the white box will show me that I also did an entrance effect, Grow and Turn. And when I run the slideshow, I'll be able to see what the audience sees. Oops, sorry. Let me just do that slide. Let me just change something real quick so that you won't see those other slides. All right. Okay. So now, let me go back to my normal view. So here was slide 1. We had 2 animations. The animation pane only shows you the animations on the slide you're on. So when I go to slide 2, before you got in here today with me, I added 2 animations, one for this text and one for this text box. And when I run the slideshow, I don't have to see the text yet, right? Because I might talk about who is Mass Hire. We have, locations in Woburn, Cambridge, Chelsea. And then when it's time, I've set these up so that if I click the mouse, I'm going to talk about how Mass Hire envisions a better future for employees and businesses in Massachusetts. And then I'm going to talk about how the centers offer employment and training services to job seekers. And it makes more of an impact, and it helps me to give the information when it's needed at a mindful time when the audience is ready to see the next information. If I don't do on click, so I'm going to come up to animations and change this to after previous. Click on this text, change this to after previous. What does that mean? Well, that means I don't have to click the mouse. Well, now watch if I run the slideshow. There's no time for me to talk because all that information comes popping up. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's what I want. I want the audience to be aware that more text is coming up on the screen, and then I can talk about it if I want. Or maybe this is at a trade show, and you want the audience to see the text coming up and then read it. And you can certainly have that happen. It all depends on what animation you want to choose, and do you want to click the mouse or do you want it to run automatically? Those are the basics so far. Making sense? All right, so I'm going to delete these animations. I'm going to come over here to the right, click on the animation, hit the delete key, and let's talk about animating these again. I click in the text box. I don't have to highlight all the text, but for your eyes I will so that you can see what I'm animating. I go up to add animation. I decide, do I want an entrance effect, which will bring the text into the slide? Do I want the audience to see the text first and it's sitting on the slide, and then I want it to do something? And that would be an emphasis. Do I want the text to be on the slide and then disappear, exit? Do I want the text to be moving around the slide? Those are my choices first. Those are the effects. Typically, what's the most common, as I mentioned, the entrance effect, right? So I think I'll choose, let's say, I'll choose fly in. Remember what option number 2, rule number 2, step number 2 is we already added the animation. Where are we going to go next? Effect options. So I had this text fly in. I want it to fly in from what direction? I'll say from the left. Then do you remember, what are these 3 choices? How? How is it's going to fly in? When means start. When do I want it to fly in? When I click the mouse during the slideshow? Or with previous animation, or after previous? And in this case, it's the first animation on this slide. So think about on click is manual, after previous is automatic. Think of it that way. So if I choose after previous and I run the slideshow, it'll fly in after the slide comes on the screen. If I choose on click, it'll fly in only when what? I click the mouse. Is that understood? Okay. Let's go to this next text box and let's have this fly in. So let's do add animation, fly in. From the bottom up is the default. If I don't like that, I go to effect options and fly in from the left. And this is where I'm going to say either after previous, meaning let the first paragraph fly in, then the second paragraph will fly in. Or if I'm standing up there and I'm talking, I'm going to leave it on click. So I'll leave it on click. And you can see the 2 little mouses right here. And you can see 1 and 2. 1 click will get me this paragraph. 2 clicks will get me this paragraph. Now let me run the slideshow. Notice the audience will just see this screen until I'm ready to talk about Mass Hire and how we have a vision of helping employees and businesses in Massachusetts. And when I'm ready to talk about the next paragraph, I click the mouse and we talk about how the centers offer employment and training services to job seekers. Can you see how that works? And then I'm going to hit escape to go back to normal view so that I can see how the audience sees my slide, and then I escape back to normal view if I want to make any changes. So I'm seeing the questions in the chat and I'm answering them. And I hope that you understand all of these steps that I'm talking about. So remember, what do we do first? We bring up the animation pane, which I did. That stays on the screen, no matter what slide I'm in. Each time I want to animate an object, no matter what the object is, I go through these 3 steps using the Add Animation button and choosing an animation of effect that I want, is an entrance effect, an emphasis effect, an exit effect, or a motion path. Then, if it's applicable, I'm going to choose the Effect Options button, step number 2. If it's usable, so remember when I did fly in, I did from the left. That is an effect option. And then how did I want to start the animation during the slideshow? Either after previous, with previous, so if I had 2 objects animating at the same time, I would choose with previous. Okay, and then I run the slideshow to see how it works. Got it? Remember, there are more entrance, emphasis, exit, and motion path effects. Okay, little by little, let's take a look at the next slide. All right, take a look at this slide. This slide has a picture. Oh, let me just jump back. Here we go. All right, it has a picture, it has word art, it has a grouped together what we call smart art. So there are 3 objects here. Let's say I take this object, which is a picture, and I want to animate it first. Okay? It may not be the way I want it at the end, but I'm going to decide to animate it first. So keep your eyes on this and watch what I'm going to do. Everything you know that I just did, I'm going to do again. Add animation. I think I'm going to choose fade. And I'm going to choose after previous so that I don't have to click the mouse. Okay? Now the fade is a quick, it's quick. Watch when I run the slideshow. You can barely see it. It comes up so quick. Well, what I want to show you next is there's something on the animation tab in the timing group called duration. Duration is the speed of the animation. Duration will help you slow down an animation or speed the animation up. So the number here, you can think of as seconds, but it's really not seconds. You can think of it if you like. But the higher the number, the slower it goes. What goes? The animation that you've clicked on. So I only have one animation for this picture. That animation, remember, was fade. I didn't have to do on click. I decided to do after previous, which is automatic. And I'm slowing the duration of the speed of the fade. Now, watch the picture when I run the slideshow. You see how it comes in now? It's a lot slower. It's a lot easier for an audience to see and focus on and then relate to the picture. I love fade. I love using fade with pictures, and I love to use duration to slow the fade of the picture down. Now, everybody, I don't always have to run the slideshow. I like to personally, but there is a preview button on the animations tab. And this preview button, if I click the top where the blue star is, watch my picture on the slide when I click this button. It'll show the animation. It'll also show on the right-hand side, the animation pane, a line showing up in this green bar. This green bar shows me how many seconds it's taking to animate. And the animation that I chose was fade, remember? Okay, so it is, we can talk about those as seconds. So I can hit preview instead of running the slideshow. I like to run the slideshow personally, because again, watch, it's bigger and it lets me see what the audience will see. All right, so how many objects did I animate so far? Just one. What did I animate first? I animated this picture, so keep that in mind. Now I'm going to animate great people. You see this word art? This is great people. This is word art right here. I'm going to animate this. And I'm going to animate it with the picture. So I'm going to add an animation. And I think I will do split. Effect options. Remember, you can do a vertical or a horizontal split or whatever, which way you want. Okay. And then I'm going to come up here to start, and I'm going to say with the previous animation. Meaning, it's going to animate at the same time that this photo is going to animate. Let's see how it looks. I'm going to run the slideshow. So as this fades in, this is showing up, calling great people. Okay. Now, this great people, watch when I bring my mouse over here. I did a split, right? So if I bring my mouse, you see the white box, it's an entrance effect. With the previous animation, it's going to animate at the same time. Okay? This picture animates after previous, meaning after the slide pops up, and it's fading. And remember, I decided to increase the length of the fade. So the speed of the fade, I slowed down. What do you think so far? Somebody asks, can you print out a list of all the animation names and their sequences to reference for a slideshow? That would be a great thing to do. And I don't believe you can do that, but I will research that a little bit more and see if I can find that out. But in all of my experience, I have not been able to do that. All right, you got it? Okay, now, how many other objects do we have on this slide? Well, we've got this one object here that has many different pieces to it, and this is called a smart art. If you've never used smart art before, insert smart art, and there's all kinds of smart art that you can choose. So check that out. I used a hierarchy, which was an organizational chart. And you can type inside each one of these and put in the names, and you can add more and so forth. There's a lot of things you can do with smart art. And there's a lot of smart art that you can use. And I'm just going to be typing in people's names, and that's good enough for now. Now I'm going to click on the outside border. When I click on the outside border, I'm going to be able to animate this entire object. Okay? So watch, I'm clicking on the outside border. I'm going up to the Animations tab, and I'm following my 4 steps. Add animation. I can do an entrance effect, an emphasis, whatever I want. I think I'll do swivel. And I'll say after previous. So after the great people in the picture pops up, then this hierarchy, this organization chart will animate. All right, let's see how it looks. So the staff at Mass Hire, we've got some great people, and here are the people in the organization chart. What do you think about that? Now, did you see it swivel? Did you like swivel? Gives me a little bit of a stomachache, but I want to talk a little bit more about swivel, and I want to talk about slowing it down and speeding it up. And again, what is that with? Duration. Duration is the speed of the animation. The lower the number, the faster it goes. So you see I lowered this animation. It's called diagram 7. This animation goes along with this peach color and this peach color. I've made it faster, not slower. Slower would be a big number. Faster is a small number. Now watch my slide when I run the slideshow. Here's my fade. Here's my great people. Oh boy, that was a quick swivel, wasn't it? So again, you can slow it down. I'm going to click on the border of this Smart Art. And instead of 50, I'll come up here and increase the number, which is the length of time that it's going to animate. I'm going to run the slideshow. The order of animation is important. The picture, the great people, and then this is slowly swiveling. You see how that works? Okay. What if I decided that I wanted to change the order of the animation? Look over here on the right for me. The picture's animating first. The great people are animating second, which is that text box. And the diagram, this right here, is animating third. What if I wanted the hierarchy, the organization chart, to animate first? Notice what I'm going to do. I can drag this up, or I can use this arrow right here. Does everybody see the arrow? I click on it once, it moves diagram 7 up once. I click on it again, it moves it up again. So I've just reordered the animation. So when I run the slideshow this time, watch what's going to happen. What's going to animate first? The diagram, which is the organization chart. Then the great people and picture pops up. Remember, these two are animating together. This is animating first now, and then second and third. But they are animating actually together, because I did with previous. Are you getting this? Now, when you're clicking on an object, it's a single object. You can just click on the object. But when it is a Smart Art, there are separate objects inside. And if you want the whole thing to animate at once, you're going to click on the outside border. And in a moment, I'm going to get to a chart, and I'm going to show you how to animate the chart as one object as well as separately, and that would apply to the organization chart as well. All right, let's keep moving. So I want you to take a look at this slide, and then I want you to look over here in the animation pane, and look, there's no animation on this slide. So if I run the slideshow, the whole thing just pops up like this, right? That might be okay. But what might be pretty cool is to have this picture and Mass Higher Metro North maybe popping up, one right after the other, or having this picture and this arrow, which is a shape, animating, and then this text pops up at the bottom. Again, it's your decision. It's how you want the audience to digest, to organize their thoughts when they're looking at this slide. So I'm going to take this picture right here, click on it. It's all one big piece. Watch when I move it. It's one big piece. So that's a picture. And I'll go to add animation. And now we've seen all of the regular entrance effects. How about this time I go down and show you more? When I click on more entrance effects, a window pops up. You can see this window. I'm going to kind of move it, see if I can move it around. Let's see. Hold on a second. I guess I'll leave it. Here we go. I'm going to move it a little bit. You see how I'm moving it? Okay. So that you'll be able to see this right behind it as well. All right. I'm just going to change something on my screen that you cannot see. Just get this. There we go. All right. Looking good, everybody. Just helping me out seeing what I need to see on my screens. I have two screens, so I'm moving things around, making sure that I can see the chat. All right, so now what am I going to do to this picture? Notice basic. Look at all the basic ones. Subtle, moderate, and exciting. Oh, let me look at the exciting ones. Well, I know what a swivel. Well, what's a bounce? And when I click on bounce, I can see it. How about curve up? Let me click on curve up. That's pretty neat. How about pinwheel? Oh, that's making me sick. How about boomerang? That's interesting. Float. Kind of nice. Spiral in. Very interesting. So here are some exciting, moderate, subtle, and basic entrance effects. And you can certainly click on them and see what they do. And not even make a choice yet. Just click and see how each one of these looks. Making sense? So some of these are not listed unless I go into the entrance effects. So I'm going to choose compress and click OK. And remember, add animation. Compress wasn't listed there. More entrance effects is where I found that. All right, you agree? Okay. Now, I'm going to decide, remember, if there's any effect options. And, well, this is dimmed, so there are no additional effect options with compress. And then I'll decide, do I want to click the mouse while I'm talking, or do I want this picture to show up automatically after previous? Okay? And compress, remember, is an animation, so I can decide how long it takes to compress, so I can slow it down or speed it up. And I run the slideshow, and I take a look at how that looks. And if I don't like it, I hit escape, I click over here and hit delete, and I start all over again. Does that make sense? So I click on the object, add animation, make a choice from these or go to more, choose an animation that I prefer, click OK. When do I want to start this animation? When the slide comes up, so after any previous animation. Then I run the slideshow and I see how it looks. Now, at the same time, I might want this arrow to be coming in from the right and pointing to Metro North area. So now I'm going to animate by clicking on this shape, add animation, and I want it to fly in. Effect options, I want it to fly in from the right. And I want it to fly in, let's say at the same time as the map is coming in. Let's see. I'll choose with previous. I'm not sure how that's going to look. Well, let's choose it with previous. And then I run the slideshow and I see how that looks. I don't think that looks good. So I'm going to click on, I hit escape and I'm back to normal view. I'm going to click on the mass higher arrow, and instead of with previous, I'll try after, so that the picture will do its animation and then the arrow will pop up. And remember, I can use this preview button, so why don't I hit preview while I'm here and see how that's going to look. All right. Now, what if I decide that I don't like the animation for this map? I don't think I like it anymore. Well, I click on the picture and I come over to the animation pane. And I'm going to remove this animation. Watch when I point to it. Remember, I chose curve up. I'm going to click on it and use my delete key. Then I'm going to click, and I want you to pay attention to this because this is going to be important. I think what I'll do is add an animation, and I think I'll choose it showing up like a wheel. And I'll do after previous. But I want you to notice when it shows up in the order of animation. This is where I want you to pay attention with me. The picture, when we first animated it, was first in the list. But I deleted that animation and added another animation. When I add animation, whether I delete the first or I just add animation, it always is going to go in chronological order of when I add the animation. And then remember, I can say to myself, no, I want the picture to show up first. I want it to animate first. So I use the up arrow to change the order of animation. Then I'm going to run the slideshow and see how it looks. That to me looks better. And again, everybody's different. You can decide. Now, what if I wanted this text, I'll highlight it so you can see it, to be animating next, third. I have two animations, one for each object, and then I'm going to take this third one, add animation. What do I want to have done to this animation? Or what animation do I want to choose? And so again, I can go to more entrance effects. And this time when I am, let me move this a little bit if I can, there we go. When I am choosing these options, they may look different when I have text. So let's go down and look at these additional exciting ones that weren't there before, like whip. Let me click on whip and notice each letter is whipping in to the slide, and that might take a long time. How about flip? Each one is dropping from the sky, in a sense, so from the top of the slide, and flipping down. How about drop? Drop, each letter drops, one letter at a time. So again, some of these, like rise up, comes up from the bottom. Spinner, spins and flattens out. There are many different choices that you could choose, and there are additional choices when it's text will show up than when it is just like a picture or an object. So I think I will choose, let's say, rise up is good enough for now. And I'll click OK. And I'll choose after previous. And now let's run the slideshow. What will happen first? You're going to see the map, then the arrow, then the text at the bottom appear. Here comes the map. Here's the arrow. Here's the text. Again, it is for the audience to digest and understand what you're trying to present. And if you're standing up there, you probably want to leave it on mouse click so that you can click the mouse and make an impression as you go. How we doing, everybody? All right, I have one more slide. Let me take a look at the chat. So does all of this work the same in all of the versions? Well, if you have version 10, 13, 16, or 19, which is the full software that is downloaded on your PC, then yes, you'll be able to do any of this. If you have Office 365, then yes, typically Office 365 will have animations in it as well. One of the other questions is, MS Publisher also has Smart Art. Yes, Publisher, Microsoft Word, Excel, they have Smart Art in them. That's right, and it is the same throughout all of those software packages. Let's see. What does the play from and the play all tab in the animation pane mean? And so you can see, where are you taking a look? So in the animations tab, are you looking at the transitions tab? Or you're looking at the animations tab? So you're looking, so the animation pane over here on the right, there we go. You're looking right here where it says play from. So for example, if I click on the second arrow and I say play from, that'll play the animation on the slide right now from the animation that I've clicked on, which is the arrow, then the text. If I click on Mass Higher here and do play from, it only shows you the animation for that particular text. So it's a way to just narrow in and focus on one of the, from starting on one of the animations that you see on the right-hand side. That's a great question. All right, let's keep going. Our time is ticking, so I want to make sure that I show you. I'm not sure if you know how to create a chart in Excel, but if you create a chart in Excel, you can copy and paste link it to PowerPoint. You can also go to Insert, Chart in PowerPoint and create a chart, which I've done. But the point is, I wanted to show you that when I click on this chart, so these are the communities served in Chelsea, Cambridge, and the Woburn Career Center. So we have 3 different locations, but we serve many cities and towns in each location. And so I wanted to build a chart for that. But now I want to animate it because watch, when I run the slideshow, the whole chart shows up, right? Well, maybe I want to focus on just Chelsea for a little bit, and then just Cambridge for a little bit, and then Woburn, and then show all 3, of course. So what do? I click on the outside border of the object because there's some grouped objects inside this as well. When you do a chart, there are many pieces to the chart. So I click on the outside border, and I come on up to the Animations tab, and I do what I've done all the way through. I click on Add Animation, and I decide how I want this particular chart to work and to animate. So I think I'm going to do Zoom. And look at the whole thing zooms in, right? And I'm going to leave it on click, by the way. And when I run the slideshow and I click the mouse, the whole thing zooms in because it's one object. You agree? All right, don't miss this. I'm going to show you that when you come over here to the animation pane, you can click this down arrow, or you can right click and see a menu that pops up. Now, I don't know why this menu won't stay up today. It's funny that it's not doing that. Hold on a second. See if I can fix something. That's funny. All right, I'm going to double click on it instead, and that will help. When I double click on it, I will get this dialog box. And I want you to see that it says Chart Animation. It knows that it's a chart. And when I click on Chart Animation, how is it animating? It's animating that chart as one object right now. Watch when I click the down arrow. I can have the chart animate by series, by category, and by each element in the series or category. I'll do series first so that you can see what it looks like. Start animating the object by the series. I'm going to click OK. So now watch when I run the slideshow. And it's on mouse click, by the way. So when I click the mouse first, the background's going to show up. Okay? So we're going to talk about the communities served in Chelsea, Cambridge, and Woburn locations of Mass Higher Metro North Career Centers. I click the mouse, and all of them pop up at once. So series means all of the series of data that I have. Okay? Let me hit escape. Let me go back and double click on this peach color. Remember, it's over on the animation pane. It's showing me the animation that I chose. So if I bring my mouse here, it'll show an entrance effect as zoom on click. I'm going to double click on this. I'm going to go to Chart Animation and choose by category this time. Let me click OK. Now, let me run the slideshow. So again, when I click the mouse, here comes the background, talking about the community served. And when I click the mouse, now I can talk separately about Chelsea, Cambridge, and Woburn. So you can animate objects that have different pieces in it and especially a chart, is nicely animated. But how did we tell it wasn't an object, which is the default? We came over to the animation pane and we double clicked. And we went to chart animation and we said in this time, not as an object, but we chose by category. How about if I go back to this object here, which is remember it's a smart art with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 objects inside. And over here it's called diagram 7 for some reason, but it's okay. I know that this is my organization chart. I'm going to double click. Smart art animation. Now it's animating as one object. But maybe I want by level or branch. Let's do by level and see how that works. I click OK. And remember, I chose swivel, right? So watch when I run the slideshow. Each piece is going to swivel. And when I click the mouse, I'll do it quickly so that you can see each piece underneath Harry will swivel as well. So you can really take an object that is grouped together, so a smart art or a chart has many pieces. You can double click in the animation pane and look at the timings, the smart art animation, deciding how you want it to animate. If you want it to animate as one object, you keep it because that is the default. You can also watch when I click on effect. Here we go. You can have sound. So I'm going to put some clapping, some applause. Click OK. Can you hear the applause through my PC when this is doing its little spin, its little swivel? When I run the slideshow, you will hear the sound go with the animation. Making sense? How did I get that? Well, I double click in the animation pane on the animation, which I can decide to add a sound effect, a timing, and smart animation. In this case, it's smart art. What do you think about what we've got? Oh, sounds like flushing a toilet, huh? So sorry, that was supposed to be applause. Try it on your PC so it hopefully sounds better. So let's jump back to the PowerPoint presentation with all of the slides that you're going to get today. So remember, there are entrance, emphasis, exit, and motion path. There's the animation pane, which is going to show you the order of operations. And I've explained what each button is on these slides. You can combine multiple animations. You can have, for example, this particular picture comes in and fades in, and then it fades out. So I can have different animations on the same object. I can have animated pictures. So go look for the animated GIFs when you're doing your online pictures. And animated GIFs come in already with movement, and then you can animate them as well. You have the animation painter, which I didn't go over, but you can copy animations from one object to another. So if you have several objects and you want, oh, I just went through and animated one object, and I want these other objects to be the same, you can follow these steps to animate. There's also a trigger that you might see when you're looking at animations, and that helps. You can add a trigger. So for example, if I click on my trigger, then it will pop up and trigger something. So if I assign a word as a trigger, then I can have the animation be triggered by clicking on a word while I'm giving in, or a picture while I'm giving the PowerPoint presentation. We talked about duration. Duration is the speed of the animation. So remember, duration can make you can decide if an object is going to, let's say we chose swivel. Will it swivel fast or will it swivel slow? We didn't talk about delay, but there is a choice called delay. And sometimes you want a delay between the animations. So for example, if I jump over to this presentation, I might want, for example, to click on Great People and go up to Animations and choose a delay. And that'll delay being animated a couple of seconds or whatever I choose. And so when I run the slideshow, and I'm going to do this diagram last now. So watch when I run the slideshow. There's a little bit of a delay. And if I want more of a delay, I'm going to click on Great People and delay it even more. So now watch when I run it. There's the picture, and there's a delay, and there comes Great People. And then the animation with the sound came up next. So check these out. Take a look at let's go to the slide. Let's see. Let me run this slideshow for a minute. And let me go to the slide that we were on, which was delay. So check that out. Especially if you have several objects, you can have each object delay. There's sound with animation like I did. So I wanted to put that into this slide presentation so you'd be able to do it. So you're going to go to the animation pane, and it's an effect that you're going to be able to add. And you can add different sounds to different objects. And there's that clapping, which says the end. So we also added in some charts, and I wanted to make sure that you knew that you could animate each chart separately. So remember, you're going to get these slides in just a moment when I do the slide transfer. And then if you're looking for a quick reference guide, I put in the website for the printable quick reference, and you can also buy a laminated copy. But I like to print these off on just plain paper and keep them, and they're quick reference guides for Word, for PowerPoint, for Excel, for Outlook. And this is the website for PowerPoint. And you can get a cheat sheet, and it's typically a couple of pages, and you print those off with all the commands that are needed for, in this case, custom guide for PowerPoint. I hope you're joining me next week for some, and the rest of the week. Tomorrow's Excel formulas, and then there's interviewing. Those, again, remember we close our classes 48 hours prior. But next week we're doing Excel databases, we're doing LinkedIn, and formatting resume. Those are the three that I'm doing. Networking through coronavirus resumes and de-aging your resume. And then there's a salary Q&A, which you can join and ask questions about how to negotiate salary questions on an interview. So I'm running just a minute over, so if you wouldn't mind staying with me for just a moment, I'm just going to come back real quick and say thank you so much. Here are our websites. Here is my email. I'll put it in the chat. And I'm going to do a file transfer right now. And what does a file transfer mean? It means that you're going to be able to get these files right away, or if you're on a phone, or if you're on a tablet and you're not able to download, you definitely email me and let me know what class you took, what your job seeker ID is, and I'll be able to email you. But right now, what I'm going to do is I shut my camera off. I'm going to stop sharing this presentation, and I'm going to go to, on my screen, File Transfer, and find the file that I want to give you today. And I've got it waiting for you. Let me find it. Here it is. It's called PowerPoint Custom Animation. Do you see it? What you do is you click on it once. You click on Download. A question's going to pop up, and you're going to answer yes. And then you're going to click on Save, and it's going to save it to your Documents folder. So go ahead and do the file transfer, and